fine lightning. Yeah. Hello, guys. So let me do some things and let's start for today. So, in my argument, I would like to tell you that even though democracy is better for freedom of choice, but it also involves that repeated cycle of elections, and for that election, repeated different choice, which would eventually lead to improper platform for people to grow. So, it would be uh, harmful for society to have a democracy as a government.
I believe that democracy might be the better option for the government. I believe that it is the best form of government because it involves the fear of changing in power. The governments have the fear that once they could be changed in power and some other government could come in power. And second, they involve the opinion of the masses. Uh,
For that argument, I would say that even though it's opinion of masses, but many a time opinion of masses does not consider the longer term of a picture. They ignore the long term picture for short term gains, and many a time people choose by impulsion of religion, of caste, of race. That's why they can't be that for longer progression. It is not.
if you believe that a million people could be wrong, then how could you believe that a single person who could control the world would be absolutely right? That does not make sense. And if you say that democracy is not the best form of government, I would like to know what is the best form of government. You would not say constitutional monarchy. You would not say socialism or communism, because these are all have been tested, and they have not worked out perfectly in the past times. For example, we can look at the China, the leap of forward that was happened due to communism and socialism, and they did not have pure democracy. Hence, 50 million people died uh, from famine. And so, all in all, I believe that democracy is the best form of government, and there are no alternatives.
It is true that you gave example of China, but when we talk about China, China great leap forward. After that, there was some other president who's I don't know name, but in his leadership in 25 years they have lifted more people out of poverty rather out than whole world combined. So that's the argument. Even though they are not democracy, they can do it. So it would be. I know I'm against democracy, but I have to argue about this. Let's say.
And
Uh, sweet age. Against. For my argument, I would say even though video games are by playing video games, you are incorporating your in movies. You could get full picture of and conclusion at the end in a single sitting of 3 hours. So it would be more. It would be more influential on people who have shorter span of attention. So
Currently, we see a rise of short-termism in the minds of most of the people in the society because of consuming short-form content like reels and YouTube Shorts. As a consequence of which, most people, uniquely because movies are free, are not able to consume movies and get any influence whatsoever. We believe video games are more influential because they are hyper dynamic, and most children oftentimes consume video games and they are in their formidable year, which means that their mind is shaped due to the games which they play.
I think I don't know very much about this topic. So let's say that even though video games are innovative and they can attract the people, but movies are also great at its own pace. It is a short form and it is memorable because it's a novel type of idea. Because you can't play every go to movies or play movies every day. So that's the case.
The burden of proof on opposition is not to prove that movies are good, but to prove movies are influential. I agree that movies can be novel, but most of the movies in the current society are just remakes of movies which have already been created or are created in sequel format. For example, having Singham 1, 2, 3 as opposed to creating newer movies. I also think that video games are just having a wide range of diversity as a consequence of which they are able to target more number of people and shape their mind. We win this big debate because we are able to prove that movies, even if are of longer format, don't have a lot of people consuming them by the virtue of them being long format. We prove that social video games are oftentimes more diversified and uniquely target children who are in their formidable year, which means that they are more influential because they are targeting a brain which is not fully developed, and as a consequence of which are able to shape ideas and opinions of those children.
It is true that video games movies can influence in a negative way, but it is also true that video games are also that type of influential. But when it comes to movie, there are some guidelines, like there is a censor board in every country which can affect the way that movie is presented, and also there is a problem of what was the word? I think, let's say,
GG, bro.
GG. I think I was not good at video games, so I don't know about that very much.
Uh, pass.
I think I lost. I am all lost because I haven't given any valid argument even in anything. So, GG, bro.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm. High taxes on wealthy are justified because it would uh, some money from the it would take some money from the wealthy person, make it redistributed towards the lower income people and the poor people. And it would make a society more equitable rather than one-sided, two extremes of poor and extremely rich. So high taxes on wealthy are justified.
Higher taxes on the wealthy are not justified because if they are already paying their taxes, they're paying a lot more in taxes than the lower class. So wealthy people are already paying a lot more taxes than those in the lower class, regardless if we raise their taxes or not. A person who makes $1 billion every year is paying a lot more than a person who makes only 50,000. Therefore, we shouldn't raise their taxes just because their income is higher, since they're already paying more than a lower income person.
On percentage basis, it would be right that they are paying equal or maybe more than people who are earning less. But uh, in the ordinary terms, they are is still paying less than combined of, let's say, million people who are equally contributing more to economy rather than just paying rather than being a wealthy person.
My opponent is arguing that poor people contribute more to the economy than the rich. That is false. The rich contribute a lot more to the economy than poor people because they create job opportunities when they hire people, and they create and their amount of money that they pay to people for expensive things also creates more wealth. Therefore, taxing them and taking away their wealth would lose some value in the economy. At the end of the debate, just taxing people who are of higher income is unnecessary because people who already have higher incomes are paying higher taxes regardless because they are more wealthy. Their income is higher, so therefore they pay more in taxes. And being unfair to them and increasing their taxes just because they are more wealthy would end up screwing up the middle class because they would start taxing the middle class more than the lower class.
It is true that it is not that good reason for being wealthy, but wealthy people have their own team of who can loopholes in every economy, which would eventually try to lower the taxes of them, which in some cases are lower than percentage of a person who is earning minimum wages or even less than that. So it's not it's
All right, let's see it.
I think I lost. I can't make that argument very valid. So,
Yeah, I screwed my logical consistency over in the end, but I think I got everything else. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, GG.
Okay, GG, bro. ગાડીની ચાવી કવર નહીં મને હવે આ બાજુ ક્યાં કોઈ તો છે સામે રહી
Oh,
Good evening, brother.
okay. One. On side proposition, we believe that having emotional intelligence lets you be able to generate more social connections. If you're only simply smart, you have a high IQ, you're Albert Einstein, we think that you're less likely to generate these connections with other people, your relationships. We think that if you look at the smarter people, like Albert Einstein, did he live a happy life compared to your more emotionally intelligent person, your average person? Probably not, because they're more isolated.
It is true that emotional intelligence is good for social behavior, but when it comes to real growth and research and development, we need IQ, we need abstract thinking, we need out of box thinking. For that, IQ is very important, and it would create more growth opportunity, more research topic, and more technological advancement. So, IQ here beats the EQ for large margin.
I think flipping on my opponent's argumentation about technologically advancing, we think that research, another fundamental part about it is connecting with people in collaboration. We think that to expand the frontier of science, you need to have people in different fields collaborating to generate even further and expand. Because of that, having emotional intelligence allows you to collaborate much more effectively than simply having isolated scientists with their own individual high IQ.
Here I would argue that without even sufficient emotional IQ means average EQ, emotional intelligent scientists can interact with them each other with a basic level of understanding, and they can understand each other if there is a protocol based system in which they can interact. In that scenario, people would the researchers and high IQ people can come together and understand each other very well, and in that specific area they can research more and get more technological advancement. And for closing, I would say that even though intelligent emotional intelligence is good for uh, social connection, but for growth and research technology, we need high IQ people who can provide more jobs.
Again, however, on technological advancement, you never have a company that is only composed of one person or a research team only composed of one person too. Again, when you're spending research, spending years upon years to find something and to discover something, you're spending lots of time with that people. And in order to collaborate effectively and shorten that time, you need to have emotional intelligence to one, figure out who the first author, second authors are, to see distribute the contribution, but then also get a more effective research. You don't have that when you only focus on IQ. Ooh.
No problem. Let's see what happens. Hmm. I am not that good at sentence formation, so I can get. I saw that. Um, hmm. Okay.
Ooh,
GG,
GG's.
bro. ઇંગ્લિશમાં વાત કરું છું ઓનલાઈન એમાં હા આ લોકો ડિબેટ કરો ડિબેટ એ કરે છે હું ટ્રાય કરું છું સારી રીતે બનાવવાનું બોલવાનું. આ દરવાજો બંધ કરી દો તો. 3 minutes again, brother.
Uh, oh my God. Okay. On side proposition, we believe that social media allows people to generate connections at a much broader sphere compared if you didn't have social media. You'd only be talking with your friends. In comparison, with social media, you're able to talk with people across the globe. You're able to talk a vast amount of people. You're able to show videos of yourselves. You're able to call people that you wouldn't be able to do so without social media. You're able to have a much larger friend list, and you're able to also interact online the same way you do in real life.
For this argument, I would say that even though social media has made uh, social media is criticized for making people less social, but for this I would say that social media has provided another layer of security society, which we had generated on top of already having social society, so it had made society more accessible.
Since I was talking about opposition, I like to say for proposition, we say that social media, they are literally made to be predatory and makes people engage with their content, especially on doom scrolling. And this makes people less social when they talking with friends. People are less prone to say go on a subway and talk with other people than just go on their phones and start doom scrolling. Hence, from the implications of social media being engaging, addicting, and predatory, we believe that makes people less social.
In my argument, I would say that even though social media had made, there is a criticism that social media has made it less social, but I would argue that they had made more social because people in country A can connect to country B without any obstruction, which had more made society integrated and more globalized, which is global society. We are heading towards a global society, so it's the point. It's a point which I want to argue that uh, people are only thinking that society is on a local basis, not at a global basis. So here I would argue that social media has uh, given the platform for global audience to get together and interact with a different idea, like this platform itself, which I am debating with you. So that's the valid.
Well, first, I can say that social media is exclusive to things like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. People are exposed to predatory algorithms. But then also, my opponent mistakes globalization with being social. We think being social is being able to interact with your friends and other people deeply, to actually have conversations rather than the superficial conversations or texts you have online. You aren't able to generate the emotions you get in comparison to in real life conversations. Ugh.
You
Oh my, what?
misspoke in first part, right? You just fumble in there.
Why did I why did I do that for prop? Oh my God. Oh,
Okay.
damn.
Hmm.
Wow. I didn't expect that because I messed up on the opening. So
It's my delivery. I can't express myself very well, so AI always give me
yeah.
less marks. GG, bro.
I think you should speak a bit slower and
Oh.
then like
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Wealth inequality, wealth inequality.
Third world countries.
In my argument, inequality is bigger problem because inequality perceived by people by masses is that they are they this is injustice for everyone, even if they are not entitled to having, but they feel that masses are feeling that they don't deserve this, they need more, they deserve more. That's why wealth inequality is more problem than poverty.
We think poverty is a much larger issue because when people are in poverty, that means they don't have the provisions necessary to live a sustainable life. They have to work their heart out every single day, their blood, tears, and sweat for just to place food on the table. In comparison, when you have wealth inequality, on your lowest line, at least you have people who are living sustainable wages. You can live sustainable lives. When you have poverty in these third world countries, they are much living a much worse life. Hence, it's
In my rebuttal, I would say that even though poverty is defined, first of all, poverty is defined by different metrics in a different country and different time zones. When we think about it in absolute terms, poverty is just inequality of wealth. Some person is able to eat more, earn more, while other is can't. So wealth inequality, when person see that he's doing much better than.
my opponent is trying to say that, oh, there's inequality. The lowest line is just poverty. No, that's not what it is. Poverty is literally when people lack the food, the shelter, the money necessary to live sustainably. This is completely different to people who are living just above the poverty line, who still have low wages, minimum wages, but they still have enough to sustain themselves. This is completely different when you don't have homes, when you have homeless, when you're so I think in the end, I win this debate because I've clearly shown the implications of what poverty is, the consequences of it. People are suffering much more when they are in poverty in comparison to the concept of wealth inequality itself. My opponent hasn't actually generated any argumentation on why exactly wealth inequality is so bad. He has not said any of the consequences of it. In comparison, I've shown the consequences of poverty. You aren't able to live a happy life, a sustainable life, and you just suffer much.
As I told in my rebuttal, that even the poverty is just in different timeline. It is differently defined. In medieval time, poverty was different compared to nobles and poors. Compared to here, in modern times, when poors are considered who can earn but they don't want to earn. So it's just that people are unequal by their imagination, their thing. If they improve their mindset, it is. I couldn't argue this. So, let's say.
No, you can. There's one thing you can say is that wealth inequality. You're concentrating the wealth to the richest people, right? And the
Hmm.
richest people are the ones who are propelling poverty, because the people in poverty are your factory workers who don't live enough, and wealth inequality is causing poverty essentially. Health. Hence, if you get rid of that, then you solve poverty. You know what I mean?
Okay, I understood.
Like this
Okay.
causes that. So if you get rid of it, it's more
Hmm.
important, right?
Uh,
It's the root cause to poverty,
it's like
essentially.
I can't. Okay. बाई ले गयो वैसे तो नहीं रहा।
Ja. Aber zum Glück habe ich 4 bekommen. Ja, ja, ich kann jetzt. Mehr als der Gegner. Mehr als der Gegner. Aber jetzt kann er uns schon hören. Aber der ist nicht deutsch, wie mir scheint. Ja.
um, People deserve second chances, but not all the people deserve second chances, because sometimes people consciously do some wrongdoing like murdering people, raping a minor child, or pedophilia, anything like that. They don't deserve, because they are consciously choosing their own demise and their own path. That's why they don't. Not all the people deserve second chances every time. So that's my argument.
So I definitely think that people always deserve second chances. Even if, as my opponent said, even if they're a pedophile, because being a pedophile in and itself is not illegal, as long as you don't commit any crimes, which is maybe pretty hard. But I mean, you can go to therapy and stuff like that. So I think everyone deserves second chances, no matter what they do. They can change, and yeah, everyone has the ability to change.
uh, Not illegal means not good, means it is good to do. It's not that I would argue against that, that there are some things that can't be crossed in person's life, and in every moral or ethical society they should not cross that line. For that reason, every person or every person in society should not given a second chance.
I think everyone should be given a second chance. I don't really see any case where someone should not be given a second chance. Yeah, my opponent has failed to give me anything that is not deserving, or any crime that is not deserving of second chances. I think everyone has the ability to change, no matter how extreme that change is. It may be harder for some than for others, but in the end, everyone can technically do it, and I believe in that. So, all in all, I would definitely say that everyone deserves a second chance without any exemptions, because everyone also has the ability to change their ways and become a better person than they are right now. So I don't really see why we shouldn't give a second chance to some people. Um, yeah, I think it's also like just better as a society to think of like rehabilitating people.
Even though some people deserve, but that doesn't mean all the people deserve. That morality or ethical line should not be crossed. And secondly, there are some crimes like mass bombing or anything like terrorism, in which even though people plead about it, we should not give them second chances. In my closing argument, there are some crimes which should not be done, and if done, the people who have done it doesn't deserve the second chances.
Nice one, bro.
Hmm.
You should have said like, how about Adolf Hitler?
Yeah.
Like extreme examples, but you still won, bro. Yeah, bro, that's the problem because these are all statements. So if you can find one exemption,
Hmm.
you've won. You know. So
I That's why I told that not all, only
yeah,
some.
yeah, yeah,
That
definitely.
that's why I. Okay, GG, bro.
Humanitarian intervention absolutely does not cause more harm than good. Couple examples here. I think a great example is the Myanmar conflict. Right now, the junta is taken captive of the government, and the citizens are suffering. We have stepped in and we've helped the people be able to get their resources, to get food. And another example is in Gaza. Right now, they are struggling, and our interventionism has helped them. Intervention can be good, and it ultimately is a good thing.
When it comes to humanitarian intervention, my opponent said that Myanmar is a good example, but in the retrospective, in same Myanmar, the humanitarian aid had like not in Myanmar but in Philippines, yeah, Vietnam in that country, U.S. had tried to intervene and try to coup the government, but they did harm.
My opponent uses the Vietnam as a one-off example
Hmm.
of humanitarian interventionism not going really well. Those are one example. The resolution as a whole is talking about how, as a whole, humanitarian intervention causes more harm than good. And my opponent couldn't really bring up any other instances of humanitarian intervention not being really good. So I'm going to bring back to my Gaza example. My Gaza example, I talked about how right now Israel is currently blockading off a lot of the aid, but the aid that's gotten through has been super, super.
It's not only Philippines or Vietnam. There is Afghanistan. There is Middle East, whole Middle East conflict where humanitarian intervention for democracy had made countries worse, more radicalized because of not stable government. They had done more harm towards the local people than they were in before. Also, there is a more. There is a more what was I suppose, for closing, I would say that even though there is a so-called humanitarian intervention, uh, they they say that they come for some goal, but all most of the time it's one or another way they try to abuse or mine the abuse the local people or local resources. So every time greeds overtake the humanitarian values, and it always.
My opponent brings up the struggles that actually comes in with being able to put the humanitarian aid in process. And while that's a valid concern, once again, the resolution is looking at as a whole, is humanitarian intervention causing more harm or more good? And I say every single time it causes good, because even if one person is able to get super beneficial aid from interventionism, then you ultimately decide that it chooses more good, and it has. Once again, my examples in Myanmar and my examples in Palestine.
You had a very good what say the structure, so I would say
Thank
I,
you.
I'm just bad at a sentence formation, so it's delivery efficiency every time uses that. Okay, Gigi,
Okay.
you had very good idea, but just you couldn't. What would I say that? Hmm,
Ist aber, wie gesagt, mm, ja, Bruder. Mm,
Not all drugs are same, and not all drugs are effective and good to everyone's health. So many of the drugs are still illegal in many countries, and it should not be legalized in any form or any condition because it does more harm. Because not all medicine, not all drugs are health good for body. Some are poisons, and some are just side uh, effects of some.
In my opinion, all drugs should be legalized. My opponent has brought up some points about not all drugs being bad. Actually, all drugs are bad. That's literally the definition of drugs. They are things that are bad for your body but bring you temporary pleasure by stuff like serotonin or dopamine. But in my opinion, why all drugs should be legalized is because people have access to these drugs anyways. It's a giant market that the mafia or the cartel or these organizations completely own, but the state could make a lot of money.
Drugs. Drugs means the substance which affect the body in good or bad way. That doesn't mean it is always good or always bad. It is the effect on body, and that's why all the drugs, which means there are some drugs which are extremely poisonous to human nervous system, to human every part of body, which should be illegal to buy or any type of trade. And there are also drugs which are.
Yeah, so in my opinion, actually, all drugs should be legal because, first of all, it's a giant market. Second of all, safer use. It's a lot safer to use like government-controlled substances instead of illegal substances that are often also like have been increased in weight by adding like toxic materials in order to make more profit. You know, a lot of homeless people die because they don't follow safer use rules. If the drugs would be regulated by the government, that would not be the case. All in all, I would definitely say that all drugs should be legalized because your average citizen probably already has access to those heavy drugs. First, and then there are two things. First of all, if they are government controlled, they are a lot safer to take than if they're from the street. And second of all, it's a giant market. It's the second biggest economy in the entire world, and it's entirely run by gangsters. And it's just such a big opportunity for the state to make money and to take away the gangsters.
Legalizing means providing drugs in even in markets which are very harmful for local people who does not know the effects of the who may not know the effects and harmful side of the uh, drugs. And also it does not mean that it is always beneficial. If it is legalized, there may be some sort of corruption in between, so that's also the concern in legalizing.
Generally easier to debate for stuff than against stuff most of the times.
Yeah.
No
GG.
problem, man. It was good.
Mm.
GG's.
It was hard topic for me because I am believer in legalizing. Chali repeat.
Nee, er hatte recht. Haben oder einfach nicht nerven sind.
We meet again, brother.
We meet again. Yeah. You can say that they give like workspaces and they give work to people and they're important.
Mm. For my opening stage, I would say that it's extreme. It's not justifiable for to harm the people's liberty who have earned their own wealth by struggling very well in the bottom road and earning by themselves. So,
So in my opinion, it's morally unjustifiable to live in luxury while extreme poverty exists elsewhere in the world. Because let's take America as an example. Like the top 10 people own around 50% of the entire country, and some people still have to live in trailers or are on the streets just because they got into one unfortunate car accident and got homeless due to it. It's not up to them, and it's really unfortunate, and it could all be fixed so easily, but these people are just too selfish.
but world is always injustice. What say unequal from the beginning. If we bring the liberty down of top people, because some people in other part of globe is harming is not getting enough for their food. It's environment. It's geographical and inevitable, but
Uh, um, also, mm, 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 mm. Also, oftentimes that extreme luxury has been made off of these poor people by exploiting them and paying them less for the work than the value that they produce, like a lot less. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make that much money. All in all, I would say that I have lost this debate because I have failed to give good points about why it is morally unjustifiable to live in luxury while extreme poverty exists elsewhere in the world, which is why I surrender. Yay. Stand up in höhere Lobbys zu gehen.
for my closing argument, I would say that people who have wasted their youth and by luck they came to become billionaires, they they are entitled to have some luxury, some sort of luxury, than being morally blackmailed to become what's a philanthropist.
Nice one. Ich chill da unten. Aber ich war das Backbase. Ja. Ist kein Ding. Yay! Oh shit.
Why did you just stop in between? I don't understand. You had
Huh? Well,
you had
I'll see you next time.
mm, GG, brothers and sisters who have seen or not seen this live. She was going to watch it, but she didn't. She slept. Right? So let's stop here for today.